Welcome to another edition of Tips and Tricks.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to another edition of Travel Tips here on Back to the Peaceful Sea. Today we're going to be talking. I'm going to read it. Yeah. Welcome to another Unique New York.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to another edition of Travel Tips here on Back to the Peaceful Sea. Today we're going to be talking about travel abroad and what apps are best when you're overseas to book a train or a bus or things like that, or just see the distance really that you have to go in general prices.
Yeah, because it can be really complicated because country to country, they're going to change websites, they're going to change companies, they're going to change apps. It can get really overwhelming if you try to do it all at once. So definitely focus on little areas at a time to make it seem a little easier. So our first one, and the best one to see an overall view, is Rome to Rio. So we're on RomeToRio.com, and Matthew's going to open up the Rome to Rio app. And let's say that we want to go from Prague in the Czech Republic over to where? Where do you want to go?
I want to go to Zurich.
Zurich. Wow, that's so funny. I was going to say Switzerland. Okay, so Rome to Rio, Prague to Zurich. And it'll show all of these different options. So you can fly straight there for anywhere from $78 to $253. You can fly to Basel and take the train in.
Basel's also in Switzerland.
I know. It's right next to it.
Yep.
For $90. And this is each way, so these are both one ways. You can take the bus for a flight and a bus for $87. You can also, the cheapest version is to take a bus for 8 hours and 40 minutes for $45, and you go through Nuremberg, Ulm, Germany, and that would be the cheapest way. You can also drive there for a total of $90.
My cheapest way is night bus, Flixbus, which is $40 to $70.
All right, so yeah, basically about the same as mine.
And it's Flixbus.
Yeah, Flixbus is the best. So you click on that and it'll show you some of the schedules for it. So this one is Flixbus and it leaves twice a day, 7:30 a.m., 8:15. Whoa, this one is a 21-hour bus ride. I wouldn't take that one, although it looks like there's a long stopover somewhere.
We've done a 21-hour bus ride and it isn't good.
And then there's a 9-hour bus ride, 9-hour. That's not terrible. 9 hours on a bus is getting to be a little much though, so
9 hours is doable.
it's doable. It's doable. We've done a 24-hour bus ride and it was the worst bus ride of my life.
Sure.
And so then you would, let's say you want to select that one. You see it has 2 stops in Nuremberg and Stuttgart, and it arrives the next day at 5:15 in the morning. And then you can scroll down and it will take you to the websites of each of these places. So our particular one is Flixbus. So you scroll down, you click Flixbus, it opens, and then you do the exact same search that you just did here in the Flixbus, here on the Flixbus website or the Flixbus app. And it's as easy as that for Rome to Rio. And it's great because you can also add, let's say you want to go Prague to Zurich to Brussels. Okay? So then you can add stuff onto it and you can click it segment by segment. So from Zurich to Brussels, it is $69 would be the cheapest, and it would be a flight. Interesting. Flight would be the cheapest. I like that. A good alternative to Rome to Rio is Go Euro. Matthew, you want to take Go Euro?
Yeah, Go Euro sometimes just has different options that Rome to Rio doesn't have. It's more specific to Europe, so it's just a little more, specific and really has a lot more routes that you may not see in Rome to Rio, which is worldwide. So we'll do the same route here and see if they have anything extra that we didn't see on
Rome to Rio.
on Rome to Rio.
Yeah, and one good thing about Rome to Rio, which isn't in Go Euro, is that you don't have to select a certain date for Rome to Rio. So it'll give you options for the next few days, or you can select a date and it'll tell you.
We're going to test out Tuesday, June 26th here. And at the top immediately you'll see the options. So it has train, bus, and flight right away. It says no trains available for that time, but 10.5-hour bus ride is $41. So that's a pretty good deal. And a flight is $128 right away on here. So that is one of the good things about Go Euro is you can really choose your specific mode of transport and break it down that way. Again, it's a little bit more, again, you can see the specific times here, the routes, so it's similar to Rome to Rio in that way, except it gives you that specific price rather than Rome to Rio. You're not really choosing a date, so it kind of has a more general price, but here we chose a date, so we know it's 41 on that specific date.
Yeah, it's great. You can sort it by departure time, arrival time, cheapest, recommended, and fastest. And yeah, I'm currently searching in euros, so it's a little bit, it looks to be a little cheaper, but it's actually about the same price.
It's the same price because...
yeah, flight, 87 euros for Swiss Airlines. And then, let's say that you really don't know what you want to do, and you don't want to have to rely on public transportation. Euro car rentals at Auto Europe have incredibly cheap car rentals. So with Auto Europe, we'll do the exact same dates that we just did. We'll say drop off, I don't know, the 30th, and we'll do find your car, and it'll search all the suppliers of rental cars that are at the Prague airport, and it looks like the best rate is $76. That is incredible. That is such a good deal.
That's a pretty good deal.
Basic rate, $76 for a little Skoda Citigo. And it's from budget, unlimited miles, and it's a one-way rental. You have to pick up and return full. It includes an additional driver.
That's pretty good.
That's amazing.
That's a good deal.
$76 for 4 days of driving. That's pretty solid.
That's amazing.
And especially if you're going to be traveling out into the rural areas, it'll be much cheaper to rent a car through Auto Europe.
And also, if Auto Europe doesn't have what you want, which it usually will, but you can always do things like Expedia or places like that and just see at least what companies are available and then go to those companies' sites and book from there just to see kind of what's available in the area. You can always use, what are those, Trivago, Expedia, all those ones. Even Booking might have car rentals, but I'm not sure.
Oh, it's interesting. So, estimated one-way fee for this rental is $707.
Wow.
So that's interesting. Let's try not going to Zurich. I have a feeling it's much more expensive.
We avoided Switzerland because it's very expensive.
So let's do Berlin instead. So if you go from Prague to Berlin on a one-way for 4 days, again, $76. Let's see if there's a one-way fee on this. A one-way fee of $353. So much cheaper, much more reasonable. Especially if there are 4 of you, that makes it cheaper. But still not perfect.
This thing though, like if you want to fly in somewhere, and say you're only going to be there for a week or 10 days, and then you want to fly out of there and just go to general places within the vicinity, it's if you don't have to pay that one-way fee, you can probably get a car for incredibly cheap for that time. And so that would be, another way to save money and be able to see a lot and kind of have freedom to not have to deal with buses and trains, but be able to have a car and still have a cheap trip.
Yeah. So with this one, if you're returning it to the exact same spot, then there's not going to be any one-way fee, and it's just going to be $76.
Yeah, and so again, if you just want to fly into Prague or Berlin and just go places within driving distance, which if you go to Prague, there are a ton of them. You got Vienna and Budapest and Berlin, and even parts of Slovenia, and you could probably even make it down to Croatia, no problem. So I think that's a reasonable option, is to fly somewhere and also fly out of that same place and rent a car and travel back and forth between cities that way.
I agree. Another thing, so we took a few ferries while we were traveling. We took a ferry from Edinburgh to Northern Ireland.
It was in Edinburgh. We didn't leave from Edinburgh.
We took a ferry somewhere along the coast of Scotland to Northern Ireland. We also took one from Algeciras, which is at the southern tip of Spain, down to Tangier. We also actually took it into Sar es Segir, and then took a bus over. But there are clearly some ferries that go all the way to Tangier.
Which is better because that bus ride in Morocco wasn't fun.
It was rough. And so for ferries, direct ferries is what you're going to want to go to. Let's say we're going to leave from Algeciras in Spain. And we're going to go to Tangier Med, leaving on the 20th of June. How many passengers? 1. Oh gosh, 18 plus, done. No vehicle. It's much more expensive when you have a vehicle.
Much more.
Does it matter outbound time? No, it doesn't, but it makes you select it anyway. We also took a ferry from Denmark into Germany, which was cool.
But that was just included along our bus route. We didn't pay extra for it.
No, I took a ferry from Denmark into Germany, not from Sweden into Denmark.
Oh, I took one also.
Oh, I didn't take it on a bus. I just took a ferry.
Weird.
So you can see here that prices are going to be about $32 for a one-way trip. Be flexible. I don't know what that means, but
Well, I want to see.
with a standard ticket, you can travel on one sailing before or after your booked crossing time, subject to availability. Okay, that's cool. So if you book that one, you can potentially ride on other boats if you got there early or got there a little late. But this is definitely the cheapest one right here. June 20th at 1:30.
It's 1:30 a.m.
It's 1:30 in the morning.
So that's probably why it's the cheapest.
Yeah, that's rough. But it's only like an hour-long boat ride. It's not crazy.
And then you're arriving in Morocco at 2 a.m.
Yeah, the safest time of day.
Yeah.
Free cancellation up to 48 hours if you pay $4.91 ahead of time. So I guess it's technically not free cancellation since you got to pay for it. But Direct Ferries has routes all over the world, which is, they're one of the few ferry websites.
Yep.
There's one other one, and it's called Stena Line, but it's a specific line.
Try like Barcelona to somewhere.
So
No,
Stena Line just has these.
Stena Line was the one we used in Ireland. It's kind of more northern. You look at it, it's kind of Scandinavia, the UK, and then Ireland.
Yeah, two from Scandinavia, routes and destinations. So we'll go back to Direct Ferries for a moment. Okay, so we got a one-way trip. We'll go, where do you think we should go?
We'll try a weird one.
What's a weird one?
Like Split to Ancona,
Split, Croatia to Ancona.
which is in Italy.
Italy.
Ancona.
So we want to leave, we'll just say around noon with one passenger. $39 for 8 p.m. ferry.
It's an 11-hour ferry. better
9-hour
room.
ferry. Goodness
But
gracious.
that is incredibly cheap for an 11-hour ferry.
Yeah,
So
guaranteed the $40 does not include a bed.
yeah.
So you can up it for breakfast buffet for $6, dinner for $21,
Take your own bread.
but there's no
Eat.
option for anything cheaper. I mean, for anything more expensive that gives you a bed. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here are options. You can get a cabin. One cabin. Let's see what that's gonna run you. Get a cabin because you want to sleep on an 11-hour friggin' ferry ride. Woo. $192. That ups it, but it's a 2-berth cabin, so the 2 of you could stay in there. So
Yeah.
that would be about $95 a pop. Definitely more expensive. Let's see what.
But again, if it could be cheaper than a flight taking that, and it could be more scenic, out on the sea and things. So don't just discount it like that, because it could be the more scenic and cheapest way to see.
Yeah, and for a 4-person cabin inside, it's $140. That's the way to go right there. So that does it for this week's episode of Travel Tips. The big takeaways are just don't be overwhelmed by the amount of research and the amount of options that you have when you travel when you're in other countries, because there are tons of options. Just find one that you can afford and book it.
And
it's not hard.
it can be fun to do this research, looking at new places and seeing what's cheap and what's not, and maybe going to a place you didn't expect to go because it's considerably cheaper than somewhere else. So
Yeah. So don't forget to drop a like on the video or tell us in the comments why you didn't like it. Subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, and keep coming back each week for more travel inspiration and wallet preservation.
Back to the place